Okay. You'll have to forgive my voice here for a bit because I'm just now getting over the flu. This thing lasts for an incredibly long time. Could be allergies or something. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So modding Fallout 4 Next Gen. All right. Here's some of the things that I found out the hard way. Um, okay. So to get started, what I wanted to do was actually mod Fallout 4 the next gen update. And the reason I wanted to do that is I wanted to take advantage of whatever changes Bethesda actually made to the code. I would kind of assume at a certain point that the changes would be the changes Bethesda made would be beneficial as opposed to something that would need to be ignored or um, patched from the previous version of Fallout 4. So I wanted to play the game strictly with the next gen version. Okay, so that being said, uh, what I did was I'm going to tell you in order of everything that I did, so it would kind of make sense with the flow of it. Is I went back and I decided, okay, so the first thing I want to do is, well, what I did before is I just threw everything at the mix. I mean, it's like one of those cyborgs from Teen Titans meat machine guns, just plastering the screen with whatever I could would stick, and that caused other problems that I'll mention later. So what I wanted to do was start with a minimal load order, what I would consider a base game. So with the base game, the things I wanted to do with the base game was put any functionality I could put in that I think would make the gameplay better, and then whatever base graphics that I think the game uh, would need in order to have better performance. So I chose to go mostly with the DLL injected plugins because they will execute faster than an interpretive script language or a compiled scripting language, because I believe it uses tokenized code. Although it may compile straight in machine code, but I'm not positive about that. But I think it's tokenized. Okay, so I thought, okay, now I'm going to go with the DLL route because that is probably written in C Sharp or C++, so it's going to execute really quickly. And therefore, it's not going to take a lot of processing time away from rendering the screens, rendering your frames, which is what you see on the screen. The next thing I wanted to do was improve the load that was going to be on the GPU with better formatted or performance friendly graphics. So it isn't so much downscaling the graphics, it's downscaling graphics that don't need to be incredibly large. For example, grass textures or a speck of dust doesn't need to be 4K. So I wanted to go with a performance texture that would get that way that way my GPU isn't loaded down. The pipe on my GPU isn't loaded down with moving a massive amount of data, because with my screen it is I think it's like 5120 or something by 1440, so that's a lot of data to move. Or it's 32 by 9, but I think the game does 21 by 9 and then maybe stretches it. That's what it used to do, so maybe they fixed that. If they didn't, if they fixed it so that it does do 32 by 9 ratio, then it's got a lot of data to move. So by going that route, by having a minimum load order for my base game, and by using sorry about that, injected DLLs and performance graphics, and not loading it down with a ton of 4K or a ton of other texture mods, and running it off an SSD, of course. The frame rate I'm getting is up in the hundreds. It's up in the hundreds. I'll show it to you here in just a few minutes, but it's up in the hundreds. So it usually is about 120 or so, and in Sanctuary now, which is partially built up, it's around, I think, 110 or something. When it goes to low, like in Corvega, for example, when I was up at the very top of Corvega looking around, the frame rate was like 80 or 90 FPS. So that's well above 60, and that works for me, and it looks good enough for me. I think it looks pretty good. All right, so now let's get to the mod thing. So what I did was I started throwing in all these basic mods I thought I could use. And I wanted to make sure that I got the patches for the mods. And I'll post a load order that I currently have with this video so you can kind of see it. But what I want to do is improve the gameplay, add more creatures, more creature spawns, add more creatures, and I wanted to make combat a little bit more fun. So I put in things like Scourge and True Damage. So I needed the patches for those. Of course, Life Finds a Way, Mutant Menagerie, Life Finds a Way is in there. And I'm probably going to add a few more, provided it doesn't drop the frame rate down too much. I do want to add like Super Mutant, I think Forced Evolution, which gives me different Super Mutant, a better variety or more variety of Super Mutants than I have now. Other than that, it should be good as far as like the actual NPCs and things like that. Okay. So I put all these mods in, I go to run the game, instantly it crashes. It crashes right when it tries to load. The game won't even start. And I trace that back to this particular mod. It is this one here. It's Life Finds a Way Rebalance. So I had to go back and take a look at that website and his web page. And he basically mentions if it crashes at the desktop or something at the beginning of the game, I think it's for like the old system or something. So I'm assuming the difference between the old system and the new system, which I found a couple differences. One must be record formatting or something to that effect, whether it's the archives or something in the plugin. And another is a different format for your Swift files. A couple of my plugins, I couldn't get a couple of my things to work until I tracked down the problem to a Swift file. So, again, back to the flow of things, I went to launch my game, it crashed. So I had to tinker around with it to figure out which one was crashing. And there wasn't a lot of mods in it. I really only have a total, I think, of like 131, I think. And 60 of them, or everything, almost everything is ESL flagged. So it's not many. If you think about it, it's not many, because some of these have multiple like Scourge requires multiple plugins. So if it crashes at the beginning, look for like a master, missing master, or something that's for an old gen, some kind of data format or something that's old gen somehow, some way. And I think what Bethesda did is it no longer crashes, but they actually tried to cleanly exit out of the code, which means that if you notice over here, it does not give you any crash reports. So if I were to go take a look at, let's say, give me a second here, and if I was to go take a look at crash events, let's say for Fallout 4.exe, let's take a look. You can see that there's only 2 events that even show up, and this was sometime in the beginning of February like 2.6. So you can see that it was basically, I think this is a Stack Overflow, I think. Yeah, Stack Overrun. So this is basically like a Stack Overrun. So that was probably about the time when I was having the issues with it. I'm thinking that was about the time, and it probably needs to go over in here, but I've been modifying the code, so this stuff is not really inserting like it should, or at least overlaying in like it should. But I'm thinking that was the 2 times I tried to run it. Well, actually, I think I ran it more than once, because I go back up here. Yeah, see, I did run it more than once. See where it's got seconds? See, second. See, this is me trying to figure out what's causing the crash. So what I would do is I would try to change the load order. Let's do it like this. All right, so I would try to change the load order here, and I think, let's see, let's do it like this. See, you can see where I was going in and trying to put things back in to see what was causing the problem, and it was wrestling. I was really wrestling with it. So for some reason, that's his plugin caused the issue, and it crashed right on startup. It wouldn't even load the game. So I got that one resolved. Another one I couldn't get resolved, well, not necessarily couldn't get resolved, but another one I had a problem with was the XDI, Extended Dialogue Interface. Now, with that thing, it wasn't working. I mean, it just simply was not working. And I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. Like, it wasn't working. So everything was installed okay, but it just didn't work. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe something's getting overwritten. I think I saw somewhere in a post where somebody had talked about how they figured out the Swift file was overwritten. Now, with Swift files, one of the things, that's like the thing that does like the menus and stuff. So one of the things I put in the game was, I believe it's widescreen 32:9, which makes everything fit on a widescreen so it looks normal. It's not big and stretched and everything. It just looks really wonky. And that had installed, let me see if I can find it here. That had installed this. So by looking at the archive, I was able to see that this particular thing here, don't worry about showing empty. I don't really extract the archive information. I just get the file lists. So you can see where it's dialog menu. So that one there could not be a loose file for that. So I thought, okay, so let me delete the loose file and see what happens. And then magically extended dialog interface works. So if you have extended dialog interface not working, make sure that this dialog menu Swift is not being overwritten. Okay, so that's that one. Then another problem I had was MCM. Now I still have a problem with the MCM, but not completely. When I first tried to bring up an MCM option, let me bring this up. When I first tried to bring up the MCM option, it literally showed it wouldn't work. It froze. And then, of course, I have code running that if something freezes, it'll automatically kill it. And I had to do that because in past when I was trying to deal with the Bethesda game, whenever you couldn't alt tab out, it just when it froze or did some kind of weird stuff, you just couldn't alt tab out. There's no way. So I actually had to kill it in order to get back to the desktop without having to restart my system, which is silly for them to do it that way, anyways. But so anyways, MCM would freeze. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe let me see if MCM uses a Swift. So I noticed that there is a Swift file in, I think it's normally if you look at this, it doesn't really tell you anything about the Swift, right? See, there's nothing there. You see like MCM Swift, but I know that's not getting overwritten. So I'm thinking, okay, he mentioned installing Booster, and there was a Booster in NG for next gen. So if I go over here and find Booster, so if I go here and let me get this over here. So if I go here and find Booster, I notice that the Booster here has a lot of files. See, and of course this file has been modified. So there's a lot of files here. And I noticed that there's main menu. So he did mention this. I thought, okay, well there's an NG version. Let me look and see what the NG version has. And of course, the NG version just has the Swift file. So that told me that if the original version or the previous version has all of these JSON files, which are JavaScript dataset files, you got all this mess, and then you have this one file, and the next gen only has the one file, then this file is important. And that file was installed once again by, which would be normal, because remember, I'm just installing mods. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to drop this, I'm going to make everything fit the screen, and I'm doing things step by step. So throw the mods in what I think is the proper order, then things don't work, try to figure out what's wrong. So when I did that, XDI didn't, extended dialog interface didn't work right, and that was tracked down to a SWIFT, which made me think, wonder if this is a SWIFT, and sure enough, it was. So by making sure this is the current Swift version, I can now get the MCM. However, it doesn't fully load, and it will again freeze, which I'll show you here in just a few minutes. So that was that. Let me see. Other than that, and I've been trying to log issues as I go, so I can kind of report it back. See if it kind of helps to figure things out. Let me take a look real quick. I know there's a couple that I have. Oh, and it kind of, without getting crash data, it also throws this metric off. All right, let's see. Because some of these over here were actually crashes, even though they're not labeled as such. Because the program cleanly exited, there was no crash exception data. So hopefully they can get... hopefully the mod author can get buff out whenever he has the opportunity, get it updated to catch these cleanly exit calls and put some kind of identifying code in to help figure out what it might be. So these are the issues I've logged so far. Some of them were just like, it just wasn't, I didn't install the mod properly. And some of these I installed the mods twice, which was a no-no. Because one was supposed to be renamed and replaced, but I didn't do it. But a couple things I am having, which is weird, is some interiors. I mean, so far, like in the game. So I'm running around. Once I'm in the game, I'm running around. I can go different places. It doesn't crash. I can enter interiors, and I can exit, saving the game as I enter and exit. It doesn't crash. I can partially import my settlement plans because I want to go back and work on settlements using just vanilla assets. At least try to convert the ones that I have over to just vanilla assets. So I can use that with other things like raise my settlement, I think, or rebuild all in one, which I really like, by the way. That seems to be that I really like that. Let me see here. Yeah, so the crashes I have is I can make it through the Museum of Freedom just fine. But if I go into the minute I walk into the Museum of Freedom, if I save the game and then reload that game save, instant crash right when it tries to load. It's instant. Now I notice the same thing at Corvega. So I can go through Corvega without a problem. But if I save inside of Corvega and then try to reload that save, that's a crash. Once I get outside of Corvega or outside of the Museum of Freedom, I can save and reload just fine. So I don't really consider that a crippling issue, but there's something in there that there's something in there being saved in the game that is not allowed to be. It's not allowing me to load back into the game. And I'm not really sure what that is at this point. So those are the problems that I've encountered so far with that. All right, let me launch this off so you can kind of see it. Like I said, I'll print my load order. I'll include it with this video so you can kind of see what I've got, and then I'll kind of explain later what I was attempting to do. Now, interestingly enough, I do have Pack Attack NPC. I've got Pack Attack Companion, and I think scripting-wise, that I got True Storms. So I've got feral spawns. They spawn during rad storms, which is completely awesome because it makes sense. I've got combat stalkers installed. I just activated it. I can't really do much with the MCM because I can't keep it from freezing. And but hopefully I can figure that out soon. I've got, of course, trees and things like that in the wasteland. And I think that's about it. once I get the MCM up and working, I'll get the wheel menu and I'll add other things back in here that I think it needs. All right, so let me launch this off so you can kind of see it. All right, let's see what changed here. Let's make sure what happened. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay. All right, let's find. Whoops. Yeah, this definitely won't load without that. I do have some. I got a weird bug that pops up where it occasionally drops. It'll drop plugins for some reason. Let me see. You can do it. And it's gonna exit. There we go. All right, let's see. Let's find. All right. Let's see. What was that again? Yeah, I'm not sure why that. Let's do. Let's go back up here and let's make sure that save. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is showing a minus. That makes no sense. All right. All right, let's see if it. Let's see if I got it in there now. Like I say, it usually creates the load order when I play the game, so I think it's whenever I add a plugin. It could be the way that I'm indexing it. I'm thinking. This will let me know if I still didn't get it in there. Yeah, for some reason it doesn't show that it's there. All right, let's see if we can solve this problem. Alrighty. Let's see. Yeah, it's all there. Wonder if we did that. Let's see if that worked. Yeah, I'd say that's what it was, because I added a new plugin which was Westech, and I bet you that it somehow it's flagging the wrong item. So that's a bug somewhere, and that's a bug somewhere in this code, which I'll track down here in a little bit. Sorry about that. Hopefully this works. If not, I'll take a. I don't want to waste a lot of your time, so I'm gonna break from it. I'll cut the vid and then I'll try to isolate what it is real quick. All right, let's see if this works. Maybe this will work. All right. Yeah, so that was where I added Westech or something in. Okay. Now I'm gonna try to. I don't think it'll show my frame rate, but I'm gonna try to call it off in case it doesn't. I got the over to the right of the screen. I've got an AMD overlay, but sometimes for some reason it doesn't always show up in the vid. Okay, so right now I'm at 71, 72. Now we're in 100. We're up in 100. So when it loads data, it's now loading data. So it's about 110, 114 frames a second. So that's approaching Red Rocket. Over here, we're 90s, 80s, 90s. So, and the reason, also I wanted to say, the reason that I did like, instead of linking it to vertical sync, I used, it's kind of like an alternate sync. It's like an AMD extended sync or something. Is in order to render frames, the way they do it with multi-threaded is you got your frames being, like they're being created, and then during a vertical blank they will be kind of switched over, so you can see the frame without any tearing or visual artifacting. but I wanted to have as much processing time as possible spent to the frames, so I disabled vertical blank and went ahead and put I forget, like I said, I forget what it's called. It's my God, I can't think of it. It's like NVIDIA has something where it's a different kind of a way. I can't even think at the moment. It synchronizes it differently. So that way, it kind of gives you the highest frame rate possible without minimal artifacting or tearing. All right. So I don't know. Oh, let's get rid of God rays. I'm gonna actually probably put this in a startup parameter because it looks way better with the God rays off. And I've got God rays on ultra, but it only amounts to like probably 1 or 2 frames, if that, per second. Right now, True Storms is in like kind of a fog thing, so it's hard to see. Let me turn this on. We'll run around here a little bit. I haven't put see-through scopes in here yet. I don't have that on. So I'll probably get that put in, but I want to make sure that it's compatible with the attachment pack, which is one of the things I wanted to use. So we're going to go over here and take a look. We're still pushing. We're going to Concord here. We're still pushing. We're in 90s. We're in the 100 range. This is car variety stuff, so I made a few notes of some car variety things to move. The graphics, there you can see a little bit of tearing. See right there? See where it kind of jiggles back and forth? I don't know if you can see it or not in the video, but there's just a little bit of artifacting or tearing, and it's at 120 frames a second. So there's different there is some different graphics in here. I believe I'm using a performance set of graphics, which are 2K. So, and I am using Reshade. And I'm using, again, Vignetti and Levels. I chose Levels as opposed to the HDR because HDR was making the dark things too dark, and I didn't really want to tinker around with the settings on it, because that's, to me, what HDR is doing. It's creating a curve. It's like I don't want to call it a shadow curve. It's creating a color curve where dark areas are darker and light areas are lighter, to give that impression of to give that extra 3D oomph to the image or the object. Now, here's the thing: if I go in here, so I can go in here fine. I can step out fine. I cannot save in here. So I thought maybe I had to do with Preston Garvey and them. So I got Garvey, brought them outside, and they're in Sanctuary, so all that's done. See, all that's fine. I can go out just fine. But if I were to save, I can save fine. However, if I load a save inside of Concord, that will crash. It doesn't really, it cleanly exits back to the desktop, so there's no way I can tell at this point what's causing that. But let me show you the MCM. So everything's running. We're at about 150 frames a second now. So that's acceptable. When other things start spawning, you can see just a little bit of tearing, not much. It's really hardly noticeable unless you're really super paying attention to it. But I wanted the FPS rate above anything else. Now let me show you the MCM, and this is going to lock up. So let me save this back, and then let's go into MCM. So you notice how it does load now, but it only gets so far, and then it's going to get so far, and then it's going to completely freeze. And I think this is the part that's frozen. I think it's the duplicate my theory is, without testing it yet, because the objects are being injected through a script injector, I believe it's backpacks of the Commonwealth, because I've got 2 plugins doing the same thing. And I'm thinking what's happened is the MCM is getting confused. If the plugins try to report back to the MCM, it's getting confused. So that's my initial guess, because this is where it's going to stop right here. And I thought maybe it's going to take a long time to do it, so I changed my kill thread. So, you know, it'll wait a little bit longer before killing unresponsive threads, but this is actually going to kill itself here in a minute. So this is what I have. So I won't be able to fully test this out until I can get the 2 backpacks down to 1. See, that killed itself. And it will not give, it will actually, once my program is actually trying to look up to see if there's any error codes. It did not give any error codes. So it just kind of said, okay, I'm jammed, I'm cleanly exiting out. Now I can't tell you if that's from the MCM DLL or from the program from Fallout 4 executable itself. I'm not sure. But I got the MCM to open by making sure I did not overwrite that menu script. And in order to get it to work, so you have to use, if you want to use the MCM with NG, I had to put in the most recent old gen version, and then I had to overwrite the Swift with the next gen version. So that's what I've got so far. Once I figure the other things out, I'll post back and let you guys know what I find. I hope that helps. I know it's probably not a lot of information, but at least I'm trying to figure it out so I can play my game. Alrighty guys, good luck and have fun.